And we are going to go live by the powers of Facebook.
Oh, it's there.
Now is the time to say your prayers. It says it's doing it any moment now. So I believe we may be live on Facebook right now. Charlie, can you confirm? Are we live? Can people hear us? Today we have an incredible guest speaker. We have the amazing Fiona Oakes. Can we all please give Fiona a big round of applause for being here today, giving her time? Lots of love for Fiona. And for everybody who doesn't know Fiona, she's an absolute superstar. Four-time world record marathon runner, I believe. She's had a documentary out about her, and also she is the founder of the Tower Hills Animal Sanctuary. And as well as that, though, just a general today, given her time. Sorry. Just a general all-round superhuman for everybody. So what I'm going to do while we're facilitating this, I'm just going to mute everybody who's not speaking, just so this will get rid of any background noise, and then we can make sure things go nice and smoothly. Sometimes what happens when we run these lives is you can get people's doorbells going off, pets barking, or sometimes kids running in screaming, and so by muting everyone we'll just mitigate that. I will unmute Fiona though, because Fiona is obviously our special guest of honor. And so Fiona, if you can click the unmute button, that would be great. And I think we're ready to start. So this is the stream of solidarity with Animal Rebellion, and we do these. We try and do them every week. Sometimes we do them a couple of times a month. It really depends on how many actions we have going on and what is happening in the world. And we always look to get you some incredible people who are inspiring, who are changing the world, who are doing great, great things. And we have that for you today. So Fiona, how are you feeling? How is life?
Well, yeah, life is good. Yeah, life is life. And yeah, always busy, but always feel blessed to be able to do it. Just keep doing it. Wonderful.
I've been really looking at your social media this week and just loving it, all your videos of your animals that you're helping at the sanctuary. Of you doing the DIY, you seem very hands-on as well, cutting all the bushes and properly mucking in, and then being here today. So really do thank you for being here. We do something at Animal Rebellion in our team meetings that I would love to bring into this, which is when we start a meeting, what we do is before we get into it, we just take some time to do 10 conscious breaths together and really bring ourselves present and really bring ourselves focused. So I'd love to invite everybody who is watching this, so who's tuning in, to join me. And we'll just close our eyes and take 10 nice deep breaths. Bring ourselves really present and focused. And then after the 10 breaths, we'll come back. Wonderful. And nice and gently, as you're just finishing up those breaths, just come back fully present, activated, awakened, And I know we all have busy lives and there's lots of stuff going on that can take our attention away from the present moment. And I really love doing this as a way just to start and bring us all here together. It feels very nice to get centered and grounded. And today's been a very powerful day for the world. We have had an action today. And for everyone who doesn't already know, Animal Rebellion, we are all about helping the world transition to a plant-based food system. And the way we do that is through creating systemic change. So lobbying the government and other parties to create change at the system level. That's how we can get the whole planet to shift. And so today there was a really powerful action, and I believe 2 people were arrested. And this was in honor of an animal rights activist called Regan Russell, who tragically was killed earlier this week while she was working on an action, helping some pigs and some other animals who were going into a slaughterhouse, and she was hit by a truck. And that is all being investigated and looked into, how that could happen. Regan has been an activist for a very long time, and so in honor of Regan, everyone from all sorts of different organizations, not just Animal Rebellion, came together today to do a really special action. There were talks. They wrote a letter to the Canadian government and handed that to them. I believe that was one of the Animal Save foundations that did that. And it was really just to honor everything that Regan did. And I know, Fiona, that you made some posts about Regan too. I'd love to get your thoughts on this week and what it meant to you.
Well, it's been really devastating, actually, because I remember Jill Phipps back in 1995, who met a similar tragic end, protesting against live exports at Brightlingsea. And to think that a quarter of a century on, another innocent, beautiful soul has been taken, protesting for what is right, for justice. It is quite devastating. You like to think that in 2020 we'd made more steps forward, but I think that that's the main message of the vegan movement at the moment. You must never become complacent, because we've got a lot of work to do. But it's been a great time of reflection, actually, for me. I didn't actually know Regan, but as several people, we all know each other. Those of us that feel the same way, we know each other. You know what other people are going through, you know the thoughts, and it's such a juxtaposition, the way we feel and the way the mainstream masses feel, and it's hard to bear. It's been really, really, really tragic, and a difficult time. I always use my running as my way, my escape. Literally, it's almost like running away from things, literally, for me. But she's been in my thoughts all week. I woke up, I mean, I get up very early anyway, but I woke up one night, I think it was Monday night, and I felt she was with me. It's really, really difficult to explain when you lose one of your own. It's like losing a family member, because ultimately those who truly care are few and far between, and you feel very connected. So it's been tough, but you have to. People ask me why I run and why I live the life I do. I'm very full on in everything I do, 24/7. It's always the same, and I have been accused of, you know, Fiona, you never have any fun. Fiona, you never take your foot off the accelerator. You are constantly head on into it. But I think I use these kind of events ultimately to motivate myself. And I know that Regan will be looking down, hoping that if any good does come of her passing, it is that we join together in peacefully to progress this movement forward. But it's just horrendous. And it's a great reminder of 1995, when Jill lost her life in a similar manner.
I'd love for us to take a minute of silence, just in solidarity, and to send love and whatever you feel to Regan and Jill and anyone else who has been involved in helping us to create this transition towards a plant-based food system, towards a kinder world, to help the animals, to help our planet. And yes, if everyone would like to join me in that now, I think that could be really wonderful. So we'll just take 1 minute of silence and just send whatever energy you'd like to that situation and to everyone else who is still here with us on this mission together. Wonderful. Thank you all for that. I think it's so important, and Fiona, you just hit a really nice point for me to recognize this connection that we all have, that all the people who are on the same kind of mission or similar kind of mission, and we all have our own different ways of doing it. You've used your running as a way to raise awareness, and you created your animal sanctuary, which is really wonderful. And I know you've done a million other things too. What are your thoughts, Fiona, on how we can transition our world to a plant-based food system? Like, how can we create this systemic change and rid the world of this once and for all? What do you think?
I think it's got to be education. Education right from an early age. I myself went vegan when I was 6 years old, yeah? And people are like, that was in the 1970s, the early 1970s. I didn't tell my mom I wanted to go vegan because I didn't know what the word vegan was. I'd never heard the word vegan. I understood the principle behind it. It wasn't a decision, it was a reaction against violence towards those that I love, animals. Much in the same way that I wouldn't want to harm my sister or my parents or my grandparents at the time. It was that simple childlike connection to those things that you love. And all children, I believe, have it. And if you have a television, for instance, and you put on, turn it on in the morning, you'll see, programs like Peppa Pig and all these cartoon characters. And children love animals. We use animals to educate children. And then somewhere along the line, the disconnect comes along and we abuse them. It's like kind of a double exploitation. We use imagery of animals to sell things, to either, even products in advertising, and then we cruelly exploit them in inhumane conditions. And I think that the change needs to come from education, as I say, with children, because I don't know a child that, if they knew what actually happened to animals and the way they were treated, would actually want any part of it. And back in the 1970s, I was just lucky to be the kid that kind of euphemistically understood what was happening to Peppa Pig, and I didn't want any part of it. I think that systematic change has to come at governmental level, as you say, with improvements in conditions and the truth. We need the truth out there. We need to not be so influenced by monetary gain. The big players like dairy, products. I mean, for me, I'm not an expert on these things, but you look at the fact that Muller sponsor British athletics. What do you associate with athletics? People being really, really fit. and then Muller are promoting athletics, dairy products. It's difficult because when you actually look at it, we are conditioned from an early age to accept that eating meat is acceptable. And what I mean by that is, even if you look at Christmas cards, for instance, you know, lady carrying turkey and oh, all jolly and everybody's happy and everybody's eyes lighting up. We need to completely change and recondition the way we think. And there, you know, people do know the quote from Tolstoy: "While ever there are slaughterhouses, there will be war, there will be conflict." And personally, it's probably a very, very controversial thing to say, but it's what I truly believe, and I've always believed. There is a correlation between speciesism and racism, and we need to get down to the very foundations of the way we think and interact with each other and the animals to make change for a better world. That's what I honestly believe. But it's very, very difficult, because why we make this disconnect, and it's bizarre that we believe that a cat and a dog, well, it's horrific, you can't harm a cat or a dog, but what's the difference between a pig? And when you ask people, they don't really know. It's just what they are conditioned and programmed to think. And we need to encourage people to actually challenge the stereotypes and challenge themselves to actually start questioning. But a lot of people, ignorance is bliss. The old sayings are true. Don't show me, I don't want to know. You need to know, and whether you need to know, everybody's got a different trigger. I am definitely, always have been and always will be, vegan for the animals. I can't say any different. I don't pertain to have some performance spike from being vegan, or you know, I mean, I do very much care about the environment. I care about unfair distribution of resources. Probably less so about my own health, I have to say. I'm not that bothered about myself. But for me, you've got to make people understand the reasons behind what we are saying. And it's whatever trigger, unfortunately, works for them. For me, and for most people that I know, it's just the animals. They don't want any part of that cruelty. Some people actually just really don't care. They don't care about animals. They don't really care about other human beings. So we need to educate them as to the benefits of, if you want them, plant-based living for their own health, for the environment, for the future of their children. We really hope that they care about the future of their kids, perhaps. But it's a big obstacle to address, and it needs to come from senior level. People tend to listen to what doctors say, and I work with plant-based health professionals, because people will tend to accept things from doctors, especially an older generation. You've got generational levels of triggers. I mean, I think young people now certainly are the driving force behind the vegan movement. They get it. Older people, less so. So you have to get at what triggers it for them. Very often it's their own health, because as people get older, they start to worry more about that. But, you know, there isn't one way of tackling it, that's for sure. And that's what I always try to say. If I do a talk and I tell people, you know, I went vegan at 6, and I started an animal sanctuary 25 years ago, and then I started marathon running to break world records. That's just the way I've done it. It's not that's not the formula, the magic formula for making the world vegan. It's everybody being creative. I also say, don't worship false idols. Go out and make your own world a better place, and with it, that will expand into other people's worlds. I'm just telling you the way I've done it. It hasn't been the model is the same, but take that model and work with it in your own environment. And yeah, just be. For me, I'm very lucky. I really passionately live, eat, and breathe, literally, veganism, and the principle behind that unless we embrace this lifestyle, the world is going to continue to be on a decline, because it's all interconnected. The way we react with each other, the way we interconnect with the animals, the way we interconnect with the environment, it all kind of knocks on until people don't just kind of look at individual bits of the jigsaw puzzle. They step back and they see the whole thing. We need to encourage people to do that. But it is difficult, but people are starting to listen. They are starting to look for change. I truly believe that, and now is the time. Obviously, as I say, young activists, they've got social media at their fingertips. I didn't have that. I had to come up with something different. But you've got to be creative yeah, passionate and inspiring. But as I say, you need to get to at a more, like governmental level. And we need as countries to work together. And that kind of saddens me, because even with COVID-19, we're showing already that we don't seem to want to view the planet as one big global resource. We've got our own little niches, so and so is fighting with so and so and not agreeing here and not agreeing there. We've got to think beyond that. We've got to think more as a holistic planet rather than little nations into fighting for what we want. But it's a big challenge. It's a massive challenge. I do my little bit. It is just a little bit, and I just encourage everyone else to do theirs and never give up. And you don't know that the action that you're making could have monumental change, but if you don't make it, you won't have any change. That's the kind of thing that I believe. But unity is very important, and not continual fighting amongst each other. I see quite a lot of aggression on the internet, and fractionalisation is not where the vegan movement needs to be. We need to be unified. But that's just my opinion.
Fiona, you raised so many great points, and everyone who's tuning in, whether you're here live with us or you're watching the replay, do post any questions you have below. I'd love to hear what you want to know from Fiona, who has been at this work for a long time, and she's had a very unique way of doing it. So let us know any of your questions. We, at Animal Rebellion, we have a couple of different ways we are making this change. So absolutely lobbying the governments. And another part of our strategy is what we call winning the hearts and minds of the people. And this is a big piece about what you were talking about, right? How do we get people on board with this message that is different to the message that's been going out for a long time by their doctors and by the meat and dairy industries? How do we win them over to our side? Because with people power, we can create massive change and lobby the governments a lot easier, right? And one of the things I know you did, Fiona, is you made a documentary about your running, and there are so many great documentaries out now available that it seems to be a super effective way to educate people in terms of getting yourself out there more. Because I know a lot of people watching this are probably thinking that they want to speak out, but maybe they don't know how, or they're not sure exactly what they can do. I mean, what was that journey like for you of getting in front of cameras, doing talks like this? And what's your advice for anyone who wants to speak out and do a bit more?
Well, for me, it was quite difficult. Bearing in mind, I come from a completely different generation to most people who are on here, probably. So I started the sanctuary, went vegan when I was 6, then sort of got a normal job. I did have a problem along the way. Everybody knows a lot of people know that I've got this partial disability. I was told I would never walk again, let alone run. So life was always going to be a great challenge for me. Came to London, got a job, hated every minute of it. We started the sanctuary about 25 years ago. And to me, I always say to people, I don't know all the answers. In fact, I know hardly anything, but at least I understand. My greatest strong point is that I know very little, and I always want to learn more. I always think, okay, that might be an opportunity, this might be an opportunity. So after starting the sanctuary 25 years ago, that was the ultimate for me, and it is for a lot of people. I want to do what you do, Fiona. I want to look after the animals. I want to nurture them. I want to be able to help them physically, directly. You might get a call in the middle of the night. Oh, a pig's escaped from Chills Abattoir down the road. Can you come? Because everybody's chasing it around, got the police trading standards. Can you come and rescue? Yes, I can do that for that one animal. But I realized after a very short period of time, I can make change to the lives that can literally come here, whether that be 400, 4,000, but I need to do something more to address the 70 billion that can't come here and I can't affect change for. So for me, I looked at it logically back in like the early noughties, and I wanted to speak out, as you say, and there was absolutely no real platform for positivity within veganism. Now, one of my, I was actually mentioning an animal rights activist of the day, if you like, still is a very, very great man, great legend, Keith Mann, and he was doing various forms of activism, and he actually served a custodial sentence. And veganism was aligned, and I had a conversation with a young man who didn't believe this earlier in the week. Veganism was aligned with terrorism, because all the acts of positivity towards veganism were being ignored by the press and media, and what they saw as the negativity was being pushed out there for everyone to see. So obviously I've got the sanctuary to protect, and I thought, well, what can I do that's positive, it's peaceful, proactive? And the reason I stumbled upon marathon running was that I was pretty good at sport. Certainly before the injuries, I was very, very good at sport. Then I've taken to cycling because it's low impact, so I could cycle a bike. So I thought I am pretty athletic, but the only sport that was getting any attention for women in the UK, certainly, was marathon running, because of Paula Radcliffe. She'd broken the world record. And it was my idea, well, kind of newsjack that, you know, she's getting all the headlines, you know, this is the toughest endurance event in the athletics calendar. You know, if you can run a marathon, you can do anything. This is incredible. Women were only allowed to run marathons back in the 1970s, first Olympic marathon in 1984. So if you like, it got all the hashtags of tough. The only problem is I'd been told I could never run, let alone walk properly, let alone run. So that was going to be a bit of a stumbling block. But I thought, well, okay, if I could just compete in and complete a marathon, then this had proved definitively that you can do anything as a vegan, and a very long time vegan. At this point, I've been vegan like, what, 30 years? So that's why I picked on marathon running. I figured that if you could, the better I got, it would be free advertising for the sanctuary, because we have no budget for anything like that. I mean, I literally am very, very hands-on here. I do everything from the gardening to the maintenance, everything. And also it would promote veganism in a positive way, because when you do well in a race, you get interviewed, and you can mention your lifestyle then. That led, I think, when people ask me what's your greatest moment within running, it has to be, along with Peter Simpson, co-founding Vegan Runners back in 2004, because that's such a massive resource now for getting that word vegan out there in a positive way. Look at all these vegan runners. Now, back in 2004, I was literally pretty much the only vegan in the village when it came to the running. We started the Vegan Running Club because I had been originally drawn to running because of Paula Radcliffe, and she's doing well, and she's getting the positivity, and she's getting the interest from the media. So if I can kind of jump on the back of that, she got the platform, if you like. It gave me an opportunity to climb onto it. But in a couple of years later, I was actually qualifying to kind of elite start in London alongside Paula Radcliffe. But to be in these races, you've got to be an affiliated running club. You've got to wear affiliated club clothing. So that's why we started Vegan Runners. And now it's got massive membership. And, you know, we go out and we like mass takeover events, you know, 10Ks, and everywhere you go in the world, there will be a vegan runner or somebody who knows a vegan runner on the start line. So that's a really, really positive way of getting a captive audience. And if you go out there and you do really well and they say, oh, you're a vegan, or that vegan woman over there has just limped her way round an outright victory, beating the men and the women. People come to you, they gravitate towards you. How do you do it? What's your secret? Well, check the vest. You know, I'm vegan. And it gains interest. It gets people talking. And that's just my way of doing it, because I had no other way. And I remember it back in 2018, I was out in LA, darlings. It's not all like that. I'm not all diva. But I was out there, and I was doing a podcast with a guy called Nimai Delgado. And he's in my hotel bedroom, and I've only got my old iPhone here. My other one broke. I'm on like an iPhone 2 or something now here. And he's getting all this kit out, you know, and I'm looking at it thinking, what is all this? You know, I just about got a selfie stick, and Percy was using it as a little slide. I didn't know what to do with it. And I said, you know, Nimai, what would you do to get your message out there if you didn't have social media available to you? And he kind of stopped and looked at me and said, you know, I don't know. And I said, well, that's the era I'm coming from. I didn't have social media. I'd got to work with the mainstream. And so for me, it had got to be positive, and you've got to be doing things that they wanted to write about. And previous to this, as I was saying, they only wanted, and even when I've been doing this, they only wanted the negative news regarding veganism. They didn't want the positive news. So for instance, I come back from a multi-stage race and I've done really well. And you've kind of had lions chasing the, you know, straggler runners, and you've got a bit of story going on there. And the BBC ring me up. Here, Fiona, what do you reckon on this this lady that's died on Everest? And I said, oh, I didn't know anybody. Oh, that's awful. Didn't know somebody had died on Everest. Yeah, she died last week. I was in Namibia running, so I didn't know. And they said, well, didn't you know her? I said, well, no, I didn't know her. Well, why would I know her? Well, she's vegan. Well, I don't know every vegan on the planet, you know. I mean, we don't interconnect through kind of some sort of radio frequency and have green soup shipped in from another planet or something, you know. And he said, oh, I just thought you'd know her. Well, there's not like 6 of us in the whole world, matey. And then I said, you know, I think she possibly might have tragically died on Everest because it's a really dangerous place to be. And many more people die there, including one friend of mine that certainly wasn't a vegan. Oh, right. And he didn't let it drop there. He then, what about this child in Italy that's malnourished? That would be vegan. I didn't know. No. You know, I am vegan, I can tell you. And I know what I can do. So just forget all that. But they want to focus on the negativity rather than the positivity. So for me, my way was just creative and going out there and trying to, I didn't set out to break world records. I just set out to complete a marathon, to compete in one and hopefully complete one. And it kind of grew from there. I saw an opportunity here. Like when I joined the fire brigade, I didn't particularly wake up one morning and think, jobs to do today, you know, I must muck out the big barn, possibly join the fire brigade. It was just, somebody asked me, they'd seen me out running and they said, you look really fit. Have you ever thought about joining the fire brigade? And it was like, not really, no. I didn't even know we got a fire station nearby. And when I looked into it, it was a way of, yeah, earning a little bit extra for the animals, but it was also a way of introducing to an audience that probably weren't just familiar with, they weren't familiar with women at the time, but weren't familiar with vegan people being associated with that kind of very tough physical kind of job, if you like, because there was this kind of idea that if you were vegan, you would look probably like you'd been dug up from somewhere and you'd just be struggling all day to muster strength to get from the lounge or your bed to the kitchen to nibble on a lettuce leaf and then crumble in a heap on the floor and crawl back to, you know, wherever you come from. And, you know, it was just about kind of using an opportunity, a physical opportunity, a visual opportunity to prove otherwise. And, you know, there have been some amazing moments for me. I remember I came top 20 in the London Marathon one year and I ran up the Mall. The helicopters were coming behind because the male runners they start 45 minutes behind and they were on course. And I remember coming up the Mall and I was completely alone, no other runner around me. And I thought, I'm going to top 20 in London here. This is amazing. And it came over the tannoy and calling in the next runner, oh, we've got a vegan runner coming in. And that was like, oh, to hear that word to the crowds. And this was back in 2005. It was just incredible. That's why I've done the running. That's why I keep doing it. Just to introduce in a positive way that you can do this. I've never made any outrageous claims with my diet. I mean, I get really embarrassed when people actually ask me, you know, because it's like all like sporty and I'm not a runner. I'm not really an athlete. I'm an animal advocate, applying that advocacy to running. I don't consider myself to be a runner. I'm just somebody doing a job for the animals, and I want to do the best job I can, whether it be running this sanctuary or actually getting out there. I'm not going to waste my time. Time's short, life is short. Nobody knows what's around the corner for them. I want to be out there doing my best. And they get a bit fixated with diet, you know, oh, amino acids and keto and whatever diets. And I'm going, blimey, I'm feeling embarrassed here. As long as I've got enough food on my plate and I haven't got to worry about where the next meal comes from, I feel I'm blessed. I truly do. And I think that in a world where so many starve, and they starve because so many people in the West have so much and take from them, I think it's wrong to focus so much on diet. I'm not trying to sell anything. I've not got like some eating plan that if you follow this, I'm not trying to make money out of it. I'm just trying to spread a message truly and honestly. So for other people, you doesn't have to be running. It can be in your workplace, you know, as a teacher, just positive advocacy. You know, people, for me, I'm not an aggressive person. Well, I am a bit sometimes, but not publicly. And
in a good way.
Yeah, aggression breeds aggression. Negativity creates more negativity. I just want a positive world, because that's the best way I can be an ambassador for the animals. So for me, it's all about leading by example, and saying, you know, I've run 2:38 in a marathon. That's quick that's way under like championship qualifying for men. I've won marathons outright, beat all the men and the women. I don't come away going, look at me, look how what I've done, look why I've done it, look how I've done it. And I've done it plant-based, and entirely plant-based. My muscle mass has been grown from plants. It will always continue to be. But you know what? It's not the diet really. It's what's in the heart, the drive, the head, why I'm doing it. That's the most important thing. So my advice would be to people, always follow your beliefs, be true to yourself, and always remain positive, and realize that the difference you are making, you don't know how much difference, what little tiny thing to the most insignificant thing that might seem to you might make the most monumental difference. And actually, when people say I made a documentary, I didn't. It was horrific. The story of making the documentary was, in 2013, I came back from breaking the world records, and an email came round from Keegan and Kip. They were making Cowspiracy, and they were looking for funding. Well, I've got no money. I mean, like, I've got like nothing, because everything I've got is for the animals. And that's when I was saying about the diet. People like focus on what I eat, but I'm not bothered what I eat. I've got 600 other mouths to feed. So mine's like bottom of the list. And so I haven't got any money to give, but I wrote to them and said, you know, if there's any way that I could generate some publicity for you based on the fact that I've broken these world records. In 2016, Keegan wrote to me. I thought it were a wind-up. I mean, who's going to want to make a documentary about me kind of thing, let alone Keegan Coon, who'd now made Cowspiracy and What the Health. And he contacted me and said, you know, you wrote an email to me back in 2013, and I just pledged that if ever I was ever in a position to help you and get your message out there, I would like to do that. And he got some downtime between the two films he was making, and he said, I'd really like to document your story. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not exactly Angelina Jolie, am I? I mean, it's not really going to go down that well, is it? And he said, no, I just want it to be raw and honest, what you've done, what you've achieved, what you keep achieving. And that's how the documentary came about. I never wanted to like be on film. I don't want particularly to be famous. It's really difficult for me now at the moment, because, you know, everything's all internet and followers orientated. It's not my natural reaction to kind of walk in somewhere and want to take a photograph of myself or document my life, because I suppose I feel pretty insignificant in terms of the war I want to win. And seeing the world, a vegan world in my lifetime, is a very, very big war. Little battles might be, you know, kind of victories, but, you know, there's a lot to do. And you know, when I know that animals are suffering, I mean, this week with Regan dying, you know, I'm not active on the social media. I don't get time, to be honest with you, but I flick through, and you know, it might be one image of from the Save movement or from Essex Pig Save, and you'll see that, you know, obviously you're here, I'm looking after the animals. I've got hundreds of animals to look after. I've got 70 cows, I've got 106 horses, I've got like 170 pigs, I've got over 100 sheep, and you see them happy, and it's your life job to go out there and, you know, make sure that, especially in this terrible blistering hot weather, I mean, I like it, the animals probably don't. So I'm constantly out there with my hose pipe and my taps turning on for the pigs to have a grub about in a bath. But it's great to see them happy, but it doesn't work like that for me. I literally physically see them enjoying themselves, but looking back at me, I've got the images haunting me of the ones that are not. So the ones that are going into the slaughterhouse today, the ones that are on cramped lorries, and it's very, very much aware to me that it's horrendous. I mean, these are individual souls. These animals know what we are doing to them. That is the worst. They know. And, you know, there was a story, Joey Carbstrong put a story on that he was trying to prove that cows feel connection amongst each other. Well, I've got a story here that back in 2018, late in 2018, we rescued a female cow. The person that asked me to take her didn't know that she was in calf. He was pretty sure that she was, because she'd been running with a bull. She was 7 months pregnant, and she was going to slaughter. She was aggressive when she arrived. She was very, very protective. But obviously she was pregnant, and this horrendous situation was going on around her. She was going to slaughter. She came to the sanctuary. She gave birth to little Pancake on Pancake Day. That's what we call him, Pancake. She hid him. She hid him behind a bale of straw. And I went up the yard and what's that? And she'd hidden Pancake. And I think she'd hidden it. And I was speaking to my vet about it. So we didn't find it and take her away, Pancake away from her. And obviously that's not the agenda here. She didn't know that. And Pancake is still so close to her now. And if he wanders, she's looking for him. She's mooing. She's wanting to find her little baby. She's still feeding him. And I actually said to the vet, Andy, I've got a question about how long I should let, you know, this carrot, if it's going to be detrimental to Gerda. He said, no, she'll know when she's ready to stop feeding him. And I think that Pancake is so precious to Gerda. She's the first calf she's ever been allowed to keep, to be a mother to. And it's humbling. And they do know. And the sorrow and the despair in the pig's eyes when they're going into the slaughterhouse, they absolutely 100% understand. They can speak. It's our fault that we don't understand their language. I feel ashamed most of my time. Somebody actually once challenged me. I was at most times I wear my hat, and people have asked me not to wear my hat because they can't see my eyes, and I don't like taking my hat off. And I analyse why I don't like taking my hat off normally, and I do hang my head in shame of the way humanity treats each other and the animals, and we just don't seem able to make this connection. It's like a big chain, and the chain is broken, and we need to rejoin it and make the connection amongst each other and value all life, and we don't do that. And I feel guilty because I come from, as I say, I come from a different generation to most that's listening anyway. I'm not like from Charles Dickinson's era or anything like that. You know, and but in 1984 there was a concert, Live Aid concert. Bob Geldof and Midge Ure, 2 pop stars, joined together to show us the pictures of starving in Ethiopia. And I think up until that point, and I've discussed it with my mom and my grandparents at the time, they had never seen images like that. They'd never seen such genocide, global. It was just appalling. These pictures went around the world. There was a big concert, Live Aid, in America and the UK to raise funds for these appallingly, oh, it was just disgusting, starved people. And at that point, the world should have woken up. I think at that point, what I'm trying to say is the excuses should have ended. We could see what was happening. Previous to that, I think the media had been very guarded about what they were willing to show. But it was very, very graphic, and we should have taken what was happening, not only to the people, but the reason why: starvation, drought, and we should have looked for change then, and that was back in 1984, but we haven't. And how my generation are going to explain away their apathy and greed and ignorance, I don't know. But and a lot of people along the way, I mean, obviously veganism has had, with the rise of social media, it has had exposure, certainly in the last, I'd say 4 to 5 years. But before that, believe you me, people just didn't want to know. I mean, they just didn't want to know. And it was just like some great out of control steam train colliding into disaster, the way that we have been managing ourselves and the custody of this very precious earth we live on. And sometimes I say that, you know, it's not, Earth's not a bad place, the planet's not a bad place, it's the people that are on it that have created a hell on earth for themselves and for the animals. And we need to take a step back from that, and we need to really readdress everything we do in our life. You know, sending a few pounds to starving people in Africa and then just carrying on with this kind of gluttony and self-centered narcissism is not the way forward. That's what I truly believe. But yeah,
I think what you're saying is wonderful, Fiona, and it's a huge reason for me personally why I joined Animal Rebellion, is to figure out how we can help these 70-80 billion animals that are on the planet, and all the other, I do animal rights activism, I also do human rights activism, I do both. I
the two
agree
are connected. They're definitely connected.
I agree,
you know,
for sure.
By helping the animals, you are helping the people. We are pillaging the natural resources of other continents to feed ourselves in the West. And it always seems like really weird to me that in the West, we're worried about our weight, being overweight and being, you know, kind of obese, and there are people starving a few hours away on a plane. And I've kind of tried to say to people in my talks, imagine if you lived in a situation whereby a disaster happened and you couldn't just ring your insurance company. No one was coming to help you. Why do you believe that could not be you? And they just sit there like with open mouths, you know, oh, because it could never, it could, and it will be if we continue with the model we are working at the moment. There will be water shortages, droughts, food shortages. And I had really hoped that with this pandemic, people might see that and they might actually actively want to change, because that's something you've got to make people want to change, and they've got to have a reason to want to change. And like people say to me, are you some sort of android or something? I mean, I get up at 3:30 in the morning and I'm whacking it out all day. I don't care what I've got to do. I'm happy to, I wouldn't say I'm happy to work in the hot weather. It's hard to go out and think, right, an hour on a power saw or a tray or whatever I've got to do. I will do it. It hurts me like it hurts anybody else. I don't mind that it hurts, because I know that hurt can stop at any time. I can turn on the tap. Blessed am I. I can turn on the tap and water comes out. I'm not bothered whether it's Perrier or sparkling or whatever and fruit flavoured. It's water and I can drink it. That is such a blessing. It is such a privilege. And, you know, because I eat one meal a day in the evenings. Oh, Fiona, that's really weird. You know, no, it's not. It just means that I've got more time in the day. I don't sit down and I don't nibble and I don't, you know, I don't really, I wouldn't say I don't enjoy enjoying myself. I get great satisfaction from what I do. But I like to make every minute pay. because I don't know how many minutes I've got. And I know that I am equal to any animal out there. And if this animal can make herself, push herself that bit harder to give them out there a better life, I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm going to do it really, really full on hard until I drop off this earth for good. Because, you know, we've got so many privileges in this country that don't get acknowledged. For instance, I'm going a bit here, wind me back, because Fiona goes off into running. She goes off into running all the time. So I got my world records, straightforward, flat out on the road, marathon running. 2:38, here you are, stick that. That's what a vegan can do with a limpy leg. Okay, that's not enough for you? Right. Because I say, my friend told me to do this. And people think, if your friends tell you to do this, goodness knows what your enemies tell you to do. So my friend told me, you've done the fast one, you've won loads of marathons, you broke record, you've done all this. Why don't you do Marathon de Sable? Ooh, what's that? It's the toughest foot race on the planet. I'll have some of that, thank you. Vegan woman does that. So in 2012, I was the first vegan woman, ethical as well, because my kit weighed like massive. I've got these like, everybody's getting like tiny little downfill sleeping bags out there. Oh, mine weighs like 3 grams. Mine weighs 1 kilo. It's a mother. It's like, you know, the mother of all sleeping bags, because there weren't the synthetic options back then that were lightweight. So I got this great big army surplus thing in my pack, bigger pack than me actually. And I went off, did this week-long trudge across the Sahara Desert. And what I'm trying to say is, I've got, in these races, you've got everything you are going to have for this week, running a marathon a day, 150 miles in a week, across a desert, 50-odd degree heat. You've got everything on your backpack from the first day, and that pack's heavy, and everything in there's precious. And you learn to understand that every tiny little thing, every little bit in the film where I'm chasing this nut round my face, 20 calories here, that's going nowhere. It's going, you know, you really realise, they probably say it's one of the safest, most dangerous things you can do. A lot of people do it for the bucket list, you know, a lot of people do it for army training, for like, you know, the Foreign Legion. But for those that do it for the right reason, which for me is to learn about yourself, to come back a better, more focused and tough person, these are the races to do. And you come back, and it is like a miracle when you turn the tap on. It is. You know, we've got a health service, we've got an education system, all these blessed things that so many people around the world do not have. I am not going to moan if I've broken a nail or something. That's not a disaster, but to many people it is. And it's about learning that. And I feel very, very humble, because obviously you're in the Marathon de Sable and you want to finish, you want to get that medal, you know, definitely. You know, people tends to be the people that go out there don't want to pack up. But at the end of the day, you could put your hand up at any time and say, actually, I really don't want to do this anymore. Can I go back to the 5-star hotel back in Wazovat? And they will take you, you know, if you really want to pack up. Some people can't do that. There is no other option than living in a filthy tent, frying for your life with no water and no food and wondering where the next meal's coming from. So it always seems this bizarre juxtaposition to me when I'm like giving a talk or something and people want to know what's on my plate, what I'm eating. I'm very often sharing what the pigs are having, on-date vegetable which donated, which my mum cooks into whatever she can do. I don't sit having my meal at night thinking, oh my, you know, goodness, where's the next one coming from? Or there's not some grenade coming overhead and my house is going to get blown up. These are the things that I really and truly do appreciate. And I think people need to take a step back and look at what is important. And there are the old sayings, but they are true. Health is wealth. If you've got your health, you pretty much all the way there. And with that health, you can channel that into doing, and nothing is written. You can write the book yourself as to what you can achieve. For me, I know exactly why I'm doing what I know, exactly what I'm going to do, and no one is going to sway me from what I believe. It does hurt me that there are certain high profile media people who've built a platform, plant-based, I won't say vegan, because if they were vegan, they'd never do what they've done, and then kick it back at the animals with the 200,000 followers and start telling people how ill they feel on a vegan diet. That does really, really hurt me, because to me, they honestly can't hear the animals screaming. They can't hear that, because they would never do that. I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I know that I would rather die than go back on anything that I've done or said.
Fiona, I love your passion, and you were in a real good bit of flow. So I just left you going, and the whole hour has gone.
I told you it goes running.
We're at the end of the whole thing, and you were just sharing such wonderful stuff. So I just wanted to let you talk, and we did get a couple of questions through, and maybe we can go. Anyone who comments underneath the chat, maybe we can go back and we can just answer a few of their questions online. That could be really nice. Just to wrap up, I would love to obviously thank Fiona for being here, and just recommend everyone go and check out Running for Good, Fiona's documentary. It's absolutely amazing. And if you want to check out her sanctuary, Tower Hill Animal Sanctuary, wonderful place, 600 animals now, and yeah, absolute blessing. And you talked about something, Fiona, which is really very apt for the time right now, which is this idea of the pandemic being a trigger for us to lobby the government to change. And just yesterday, the BBC, they released a whole thing about how the virus spreads in these meat plants. And so Animal Rebellion, we're actually running a big action on the 11th of July. So this is going to be on the 11th of July, a worldwide action. It's going to be in a city near you. So check out the Animal Rebellion page for more details. It's all about lobbying the government to create this change to prevent future pandemics. And I think this is, so many of the pandemics in the past, they came because of animal agriculture, because of animal abuse, because of the way that we treat animals on our planet. And this is a big wake-up call that if we don't want this to happen in the future, we need to shift it. So I just wanted to throw that out for anyone who is interested in getting involved with Animal Rebellion. We are looking for more volunteers. We're looking for more people to join the rebellion, whether it's just to attend an action or whether you want to get involved in the team. We're looking for people who have a passion, just like Fiona, right? And when I spoke to Fiona, she just said, I'll do whatever you want, right? Whatever you like. I just want to help you. Let's change the world. Let's get the message out. And thank you so much for that. Fiona, just in the last minute, I guess, if there was one thing you would want anybody listening to know, if you had like a magic microphone and whatever you said for the next minute, every person on the planet could feel and understand, what would you want to say to them?
Yeah, I would say to people, I veer away from using the word compassion. Is very important, but it's empathy. We need to empathize with each other and the animals, and always believe absolutely 100% you are not alone in this world. You're not alone. You're not crazy for your beliefs. Be strong and be convicted in what you believe in, and go out there and share this message. And it is strange with this pandemic, when you actually think about it. If you were trying to explain this to somebody who knew nothing about it, you would say that another pandemic, we've had swine flu, avian flu, loads of things that have started through, and I think 3 out of 4 of these pandemics start through animal exploitation. And we constantly do nothing about it. Now is the time to deliver change, to demand change. We have to do it. We have to do it for each other. We have to do it for the future. We have to do it for the planet. And most of all, we have to do it for the animals, because they are suffering. They are screaming. Tonight, as it's baking up, they are sweltering. We've got to do something. Now is this opportunity. See this as a golden opportunity. Don't see it as a negativity. See it as an opportunity. Get out there. I'm going to do anything I can to help Animal Rebellion. I haven't got the voice I wish I got. If I did, I'd speak more and more and more. This is the organisation to be part of. The truth needs to be out there in a positive way. And alternatives. People need to know the alternatives, and the answers are there. We just need to relate to them. And we can make change, and don't give up, because I know I go through depressions. I go through times when you just think it's futile, but it isn't, and we need to believe, connect together, and believe that this is the time for change.
And just to end on that, Sonia in the comments says, the pandemic will make the world a better place. Yeah, I believe that this is a time of awakening, of transformation, and together we can make a huge difference. So thank you everyone who tuned in. Thank you again, Fiona. Go check out, connect with Fiona, watch a documentary. Hope to see you all at the action on the 11th of July. And if you want to get involved with Animal
I'll
Rebellion,
be there.
do check us out. Fiona's going to be there, so you can come hang out with Fiona as well. Take care, everyone.
Might even bring Percy back.
She's going to bring Percy Bear. Amazing. Wishing you all infinite love and blessings. Thank you all for everything that you do. And exactly like Fiona said, even those smallest things you do make such a big difference.